The United States has allowed the sale of Iranian oil at sea in its latest effort to counter rising oil prices due to the escalating West Asia war. The Treasury Department waived sanctions on Iranian oil that have already been loaded onto tankers through to April 19th. This measure follows similar decisions on Russian oil on the water. For years, the U.S. has prevented the sale of Iranian oil and fuels to most of the world. Yet Washington is now facilitating oil sales from a country against whom it is waging a war. Analysts are calling these decisions desperate measures due to soaring crude prices to multi-year highs. The objective is clear: allow as many barrels of oil as possible to flow into the international market to improve the global supply situation and curb spiraling crude prices. The decision to waive sanctions is also targeted at holding. For years now, over 90% of Iranian oil exports have been going to one country, and that is China. And technically, this move will not really increase the global oil supply. The decision will, at best, enable other countries also to buy Tehran's oil. In a post on X, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent called the waiver a narrowly tailored short-term authorization permitting the sale of Iranian oil currently stranded at sea, adding that the measure will release about 140 million barrels. But that figure includes cargoes in transit, which may already be booked and not likely to reflect actual availability. Goldman Sachs estimates there are 105 million barrels of Iranian oil on water. The global market is facing a daily shortage, estimated between 10 and 14 million barrels per day. The International Energy Agency labeled it the largest supply disruption in history. The Strait of Hormuz carries about 20 billion barrels per day, or 1/5 of global oil, and has been effectively blocked. In addition, major Gulf producers have reduced output by at least 10 million barrels per day. So the release of Iranian oil is at best only a fraction of the actual deficit in supply due to the war. Bessent also says that Iran will have difficulty accessing any revenue generated at current market prices exceeding $100 per barrel. The total value of Iran's oil at sea exceeds $14 billion. However, the Treasury Secretary says that Iran will have extreme difficulty accessing any revenue generated from these sales. According to Bessent, those proceeds are expected to be held in restricted accounts to prevent them from funding Tehran's military efforts. The U.S. has continued to maintain maximum pressure on Iran's access to international financial systems, but previously Iran has managed to earn from its oil exports despite the sanctions through crypto and other forms of settlements. And joining us live from New Delhi is retired Captain Alok Bansal. He's the Director of India Foundation and the Executive Director of South Asian Institute for Strategic Affairs. Captain Bansal, thank you very much for your time and welcome to the show. The U.S. has decided to lift sanctions on Iranian oil amid the war. Has President Trump run out of options, you think?
See, President Trump is at the end of his wits because he wants to keep the energy prices down because that's essential for him to help his party and to remain in power as far as US is concerned, because midterm elections are looming large and rising prices will determine the outcome of the elections to a very great extent. At the same time, he's not willing to accept that he is actually lost out, so he has to keep the pressure. So he's coming up with such measures, like earlier he did it for Russian oil, that Russian oil at sea is exempted from sanctions. Now he's saying that Iranian oil at sea is free from sanctions. Maybe this could have some incremental effect as far as prices are concerned. We also need to understand that his reactions after the gas field was attacked by Israel and retaliatory attack by Iran on Qatari gas field also indicated that he is extremely averse to any attacks on oil and gas infrastructure, as that would immediately harm his prospects, because that would raise the oil prices, which have already touched $110 and are probably still rising. So that's an issue which President Trump has to negotiate, because Iran does not seem to be succumbing, because he has been wanting an unconditional surrender, and that does not seem likely. So he's really running out of options which can help United States extricate itself from the conflict with honor.
Captain Bansal is in panic mode right now. By lifting the sanctions, do you think Iranian oil can offset the oil deficit that is currently ongoing?
See, it can offset the oil deficit if he allows continuous export of Iranian oil and lifts sanctions completely from Iranian oil, which they are not doing. As of now, they're talking about Iranian oil in the waters. Now, one doesn't know whether it would have that desired impact, because markets are skeptical. Markets always look for future. So if they see, yes, this is being lifted, then the markets will cool down. I don't think so this will have a lasting impact. Maybe you could see a temporary blip as far as prices are concerned. But unless the US can bring more sustained supplies into the market, maybe get Venezuelan fields online very fast, get more oil flowing from Venezuela or something like that, that could probably ease the prices. But at the moment, to my mind, it doesn't seem likely. And so this measure at best would provide some temporary relief to the overheated oil markets of the world.
Captain Bansal, it's good to see you. We'll have to end this discussion here. Thank you for talking to us today.